Your retirement plan is all wrong, says Larry Kotlikoff. And I could not agree more. Big fan of old Larry. Let's read this article that my man, someone had sent this to me from Barron's. And there's my man, Larry, with his dad body, which I like. You know, I got a little bit of a pudge there. The ladies like a little pudge, boys. A little bit. I don't want a six pack. They want the pudge, the man body, the dad body. All right, so let's read what he's saying here. Economist Larry Kotlikoff thinks that most financial planners go about it wrong. Rather than helping clients amass wealth, the Boston U professor of economics, who's another notorious grad of BU economics? Oh, AOC, that famous economist, her. Anyway, so this strike one against Larry. There's another guy, Ziv Bodie. I've never been a fan of that guy. For some reason, people in the financial planning love Ziv. I don't get it. It doesn't do anything for me. And he's at BU, or he was at BU as well. So strike two against the BU economics departments. But be it as it may, I still like Larry. I interviewed him a long time ago. Anyway, Kotlikoff advises most retirees to wait as long as possible to collect Social Security, even if that means spending down their savings. Yes, I agree. And he says retirees should consider tapping retirement accounts to pay off their mortgages because it's a guaranteed safe return on money. I challenge that to some regard. I'm telling you, I know it might sound like you're going to guarantee your 3 to 4, whatever your mortgage interest rate is. You got to look at the amortization schedule, man. You got to look at the amortization. I cannot stress enough, because what happens is you're paying a heck of a lot of interest on the front end, but you're paying a heck of a lot less interest on the back. You're not truly paying 3 1/4, 3 1/8, 4, something like that, if you're on the back end of your mortgage. Usually, if it's a 30-year mortgage, usually after 12 years, you're paying significantly more principal than interest. And as such, your interest payment is no longer 3 1/4. It might be 1 at that point or something like that. So just be careful there. It sounds intuitive. It's not. It's just, you got to know the amortization schedules. All right, so let's keep going here. How come I can never click on this thing? There we go. All right, he does like to stir things up. He's ran for president a couple times. Yep. What's your problem with financial planners? Well, the whole goal of life is not to accumulate wealth so people can get rich off our fees. It's have the best lifestyle we can, given our resources, so we don't end up living on the street if a market crashes happens or a house burns down. Saving for retirement is a quintessential step in consumption smoothing, but you don't want to undersave or oversave. You want to get it right. Economists are looking at your lifetime resources and figuring out what you should spend so you can keep on spending it 100%. And what you should spend is based on what you have, like Larry says. I need $20 million a year. You don't have it. So you can't retire? Why? Do you really need $20 million a year? Larry says, it seems to me the stock market is overvalued and dependent on the Federal Reserve keeping interest rates low. I don't have any qualm with that. But so isn't the U.S. Treasury contingent on the Federal Reserve keeping interest rates low, because our debt to the cost to service the debt. He says, Larry says, I view that as unsupportable. So I view the stock market as very risky, but half my assets are in cash because I think this is a very tricky investment climate. He did pull out the market when COVID hit, and he felt proud of himself, but he did not expect the Fed would come back in and support the corporate bond market to the extent it did. The corporate bond, the U.S. Treasury bond market too. He missed out on the rebound, staying out out of the market for about half a year, and I've waited back in with 2 hedge funds that use arbitrage methods that are independent of how the market does. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all, but whatever. Millions of Americans claim Social Security so they can get back all the money put in. They have it wrong. Larry says, yeah, it's kind of like reducing the money you spend on your homeowner's insurance to make sure you won't lose money if your house doesn't burn down. It's a twist of logic. If you're 90 and you're alive, you're going to be very happy that you waited until 70 to start collecting Social Security, because you get 76% more than if you were at 62. See, that's a challenge I got for Larry. If you're 90, and you're alive, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to be. In fact, the vast majority of us will not be. Part 2 of that, and this is not to advocate taking it early, but I think there's a little bit more than Larry's seeing, is that, yeah, but you're 90, you're sitting on the freaking porch or in a nursing home, whoop-de-flip-and-do, man. Enjoy it. I'm not saying take it at 62. I do what Larry says, which is spend down your IRA, defer Social Security, for the most people. Now, I did have a guy yesterday or 2 days ago. He was 8 years younger than his wife, all right, and she's Asian. I can't remember if she's from Southeast Asia, Thailand, Cambodia, I can't remember. But anyway, and those Asians are pretty a thrifty group of people, and they eat well and stuff. And as such, she's going to survive. Probably to survive him, to be honest with you. But anyway, long story short, it's like, you probably take yours at 62 to open up the window for your wife to take it at 70, even though she's 8 years older than you. Because the longer you wait, the less spousal benefits you'll get, because she didn't have a benefit on her own record at all. So every year he waits is a year he won't get Social Security, and a year she won't get her spousal benefit as well. So it just depends on the situation. All right, let's keep going. What are some mistakes that Americans make in retirement? Dealing properly with their home. A lot of people haven't downsized, and there are lots of places in the country that are much cheaper than others. And also, by the way, Larry is now an advocate of reverse mortgages. Interesting. People retire too early. I'm not so sure about that, old Larry. If you can't maintain the standing level you'd like, I'd say it's too early. Well, if you're trying to achieve a certain standard of living and you can't maintain it, yes, indeed, it's too early. However, you got to identify what that standard of living is beforehand, and that is not an 80% based on 80% of the pre-retirement income. That's just dumb. Many people who stop working early will end up being retired longer than they worked. Maybe. Let's see. I like this one. You grew up working in your dad's department store in Camden, New Jersey. Did you learn anything that helps you now? Small business faces a lot of risk, and there's a chance you'll get hit with the unexpected. In this case, the city fell apart. The biggest lesson was the need to prepare for old age by being diversified. My dad and his two brothers had every single penny in the store, and when the store failed, he and my mom had their house, but that was it. All right, so it fell on my siblings and me to take care of it. All right, so he talks about a couple of things on Social Security and whatnot. Is paying off the mortgage early smart? Ask them I completely agree with this with Larry. Ask them if they pay off the mortgage, would they turn around and borrow money and put it in the stock market? They'd never do that. So it's an irrational statement that you're making, that they're making to you, that they didn't pay off the mortgage and instead they vested because they got better returns in the stock market. Completely agree. Do Roth conversions make sense? They do and they don't. You have to be careful. If you convert too much, you may actually raise your taxes. You may want to convert in years when your tax bracket is relatively low. Yep. If people are taking Social Security early, doing Roth conversions can kick up their Social Security benefit taxation, and it could raise their Medicare premium. Yep. It's a delicate calculation to figure out how much to convert, and all revolves around these moving parts. Let's see. Have you made personal financial mistakes that violate the rules of economics? I rebuilt a vacation cottage one time out of an emotional attachment where it had cost half as much to tear it down and rebuild it from scratch. All right, so I want to talk real quick about Larry's book here. This is one of the books that literally changed me as a financial planner. The first in 2005, I read Ty Bernicki's Reality Retirement Planning article in the Journal for Financial Planning. That was like getting hit by a 2x8. Now, having a 2x4, a 2x8, dude, that guy's fantastic. I wish they had a Nobel Prize in financial planning, because I would nominate every year Ty Bernicki. There's a data set from professors, I can't remember where, in 1999 that was the beginning of this reality retirement spending. And again, the idea is as you age, your spending goes down. Now, you adjust it with inflation, but the actual amount of spending goes down, even to take into consider inflation. And then I came across this, I think in 2008, 2009. I'll put a link in my show notes. So if you buy it through my link, I get paid that big 22% commission on a $10 book. I just want to share with you a couple things. We got right here. Beware of averages. We hope that most retirees have the good sense to ignore the 4% drawdown rule. Sadly, those who do ignore it run the risk of selecting an even more dangerous spend down rule, and I call the Dave Ramsey spend down rule. And he talks about basically we have Ruth there, who has returned 9.1% a year in large cap since 1926. This is written in 2008, I think. And so Ruth thinks she can get, as long as she gets about a 9.1% return, she can spend 9% and still add to her capital. And we know that's not true, because the averages are not the each and every year. They're just an average. And so, let me just go back to what he says. The problem with Ruth's thinking and spending plans, she's forgetting that the return on stocks is both irregular and highly skewed, meaning that there's a higher probability of receiving returns below 9.1% than the receiving returns above 9.1. Moreover, the probability of getting very low returns is much higher than that of getting very high returns. Consequently, if she pursues this spending strategy over time, the Dave Ramsey spending strategy, I hate to bash the man, but he said it on multiple videos. It's crazy. Always spending out of her remaining assets based on a 9.1% average, the chances get larger and larger that her living standard will get smaller and smaller as she runs out of money. Right here, too. The big gray wave, the biggest demographic shift in human history, will cause successive cohorts of retiring Americans to discover that the American healthcare system has become the equivalent of a Soviet-era department store. Everything is offered, but nothing is available. Retirees will discover that they've been invited to play a giant game of medical musical chairs while the music plays and increasing numbers of retirees circle a diminishing number of medical chairs as the ratio of retirees to doctors diminishes or shrinks. Now, I got so many notes in here, man. Just man, your kids are going to trade from page 110, ask the location from page 187, study of Wharton students, the origin of the, I don't know, page 95, the origin of the 80% rule. I haven't looked at that for a long time. Let's take a look here. The science behind the replacement rate. The replacement rate as a source is calculated every 3 years by the Center for Risk Management Insurance at Georgia State University using the Department of Labor's Consumer Expenditure Survey. As the center's website acknowledges, it was established in 1969 through grants and general financial support from the insurance industry. The replacement rate itself, as previously mentioned, financed by Aon Corporation, a major insurance brokerage. In other words, the replacement rate is calculated by the insurance industry. The quote, researchers, unquote, at Georgia State start with a pre-retirement income of a variety of households, married, single, different income levels, and then make adjustments until they get to the spending being done before retirement. They assume this income needs to be replaced 100%. Anyways, so much stuff in here. I can't tell you how many notes I got in this book. It's insane. And look, man, if medical musical shares, long-term care, buy long-term care at a young age, pay off mortgage. Ask 3/4 of people managing mutual funds don't beat the market. EBRI study on retirement spending. Yep. Ooh, that's good too. Let's look at that 218. Hold on a second, because I love EBRI. You know that. 218. Post-retirement versus pre-retirement spending. They spending level much lower than before. 20% said expected their post-retirement to be much lower. About the same. 34% said it'd be about the same. 42% was actual. A little lower, 34% of workers expected their post-retirement spending to be lower than their pre-retirement spending. It's basically what's going on here is 66, 76, 86% of the people spent about the same or a little bit or much lower than they anticipated than they did before they retired. There you go. All right, so that's good stuff, man. Huge fan of Larry. I'll put a link in the show notes. Love to hear your comments. If you're about to retire or 3 to 5 years out, hell, everyone should buy this book. This is 15 years ago, so I'm 51. It's 36. Change everything. It'll change you too. All right, see ya.